Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of the Our Girlington podcast. Today, our topic is Ramadan and time for making healthy changes. But before we get onto the topic, let's do a quick introduction. So, I'm Babarahim, I'm the host for today. Today, we have Akif, who's my brother, who's going to be standing in for Molna Sajid. You saw him last week, you've seen him a lot. People in Girlington know him a lot. And he tells me off every time because he comes on here and I don't introduce him, because everyone knows him. So today I'll make sure I get a special introduction in. So he does a lot with so he does a lot for Masjid Umar, especially around the Our Girlington side, and organizing the masjid's interaction with the community to try bringing that together. So today we're going to be talking about, like I said, Ramadan and time for health changes. And we're talking to some sisters from Born in Bradford. So what we want to start with is, what is Born in Bradford? So Sister Abida, if you could explain to us, what is Born in Bradford?
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. So Born in Bradford is an institution in Bradford, and at the up at the hospital. It's the Institute of Health and Research, and the main point or the main purpose of Born in Bradford is all about looking at research that will help us look at health inequalities or health outcomes of the population in Bradford. So we've got lots of different programs that we're working in, and the one that I'm particularly working on is the Childhood Obesity Trailblazer Program, which is looking at how we could develop a health intervention working particularly with the Muslim community in Bradford, so within the masjids and madrasas, and how we could inshallah help our communities to improve their well-being.
Thank you for that, Sister Abida. Just a quick question for you, Sister Nabeela. Why is it important to teach madrasa students about healthy eating? We've heard from Sister Abida there about the role of Born in Bradford. How is it targeting madrasa kids is so important to this program?
Well, assalamu alaikum, by the way. Well, the thing is, with the madrasa children, we've got straight away, we've got a captive audience as well of young children. But also, and we know that they're obviously learning about Islam and Quran at the madrasas. But really important as part of our deen as well is, because our bodies have a right over us as well, and learning how to keep them eating healthy, even if we just look in the Quran and the Sunnah, there's so many hadith on eating healthy, what we should eat, the sunnahs of eating and etiquettes of eating. So really important to capture the kids when they're young and try and get them to start thinking about what they're eating and healthy foods at a really young age. So yeah, we'll also want to get some of the parents involved in that as well. So it's not just the children. Obviously, whoever's cooking the food for them is really important. But it's not just about food. It's the etiquettes, everything to do with having a healthy body, mind, spiritually, and physically as well.
So you said you talked a bit about learning from the Quran and Sunnah. So Sister Abida, if I could ask you, what's the importance of learning about the Sunnah and eating? And why are we linking that? And the title of the podcast is about Ramadan, time for making healthy changes. So why is it important linking this Sunnah to Ramadan, and why now for changes?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, mashallah, there is no better time in a blessed month like Ramadan to look at what we are about and look at our habits. And it's a devotional month, so what we would want to do is use that opportunity as best as we can to look at what it is that we can do to improve and change our diet. And what we put inside us very much determines what we are about. It'll allow us to develop our habits, like good habits, but also the kind of level of devotion you would want to do in Ramadan. That would depend very much on the kind of foods that you put inside you. And knowing that we are going to be abstaining for food for so many hours, especially during these spring, summer, long months, you need to make sure that you have the right kind of food and source in your body. And I think that's why we wanted to, inshallah, bring this up, because I think Ramadan is definitely a month to embrace. It's a month where you could really make so many positive changes in your life. And I think as a community, we, because everybody's doing it together, that really helps people break bad habits and, inshallah, come towards good habits and making those small changes, because you've got 30 less days there. And if you make that intention to start off in improving that, you could inshallah continue that after Ramadan. So that's why we wanted to use this opportunity.
Yeah, I was just going to say as well, also, it's been proven that it takes about 4 weeks to get into a habit, to make a new habit. So Ramadan is just that perfect time. If you really do it every day and you're concentrating on it, that habit will change. So if you get some, start, especially with the children as well, get them into good habits during Ramadan, then hopefully that will be, inshallah, it'll carry on after Ramadan as well. So that 4 weeks is just the right amount of time.
Yeah,
and then the other thing as well, sorry, I was going to say was, subhanAllah, how many blessings we get in Ramadan. Anything good that you're doing, it's times up to 700. So inshallah, anything good that you're doing, it's such a blessing.
I think childhood is also a beautiful time for having really good childhood memories. And I think if we all look back at our own memories, our Ramadan memories are so powerful. And I think to be able to do that and allow your children to remember that, you hope that inshallah they then continue with that kind of thing, because the whole family's. And I think if you look at people trying to improve their diet outside Ramadan, sometimes it's a bit difficult if you're the only one that's doing it in the family. But when the whole family gets together, that's really important. One of the things we're doing within Born in Bradford, there's lots of programs that look at whole system change, and that really makes a big difference in achieving the outcome that you want. When the whole system or everybody's working at that kind of outcome, it's more likely to have a positive outcome, and it's more achievable. So when the whole family is going to focus on making these habit changes, everybody will have different ones, and I think that's really important.
I mean, if I can be devil's advocate here, and I know Mullan Sajid isn't here and he likes his food, and I like mine as well.
I was waiting for how long that was going to take.
Sorry, he's watching. He knew this would come in. But I mean, we say we're fasting this year. I think, what is it, over 16 hours? Is it 17, 18 hours? Roughly, we're going to be fasting. So we come to iftari time, and whatever someone's putting down in front of me, I'm going to be eating. I'll sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, there might be 3 meals there, and I'm going to be knocking out 3 meals in the space of one to build over and tide me over to the next day. And you know what the Asian diet is like. So there's going to be samosa, there's going to be kebabs, there's going to be pakori, there's going to be everything that is on the sort of hit list. Anything that can long term will lead you to a lovely life with diabetes. There'll be sugary drinks, there'll be cakes. How can we get out of that habit? We have to be practical with this, don't we? I mean, and why are we targeting it at Ramadan when everyone is absolutely starving? And let's say come to the end of the day, some of us are a bit bad-tempered. Someone sees something healthy there, they're going to think, where's my food? I've fasted for 18 hours. How do we overcome that?
Well, just to say, it doesn't have to be. I don't know why. I mean, this is a very Pakistani thing, isn't it? We have to have our samosa and pakore, but why do you have to have that? And I mean, saying that though, if you have to have that samosa and pakore, there are healthier ways of making them as well. So we don't have to deep fry. There are so many just little changes that we can make that you can still have your kheer and your whatever, but you change the sugar to honey, change the oil to olive oil. Don't, even if you're cooking and you've got a lot of oil in it, just skim that oil off, take it off before you serve it. So there's loads of different, we can have, if you add a lot of we're lucky actually with Asian food, we do cook a lot of vegetables. So there are so many, you can add so many more vegetables, you can have fruit, you can have a lot of salad, make sure that a lot of your plate is salad. Just so many things that we can still have all of that food, but just cook it in a better way, add a lot of more healthy foods to it, and you can still, but you can do samosa, like brush them with oil and do them in the oven, and they don't taste that bad. They're still kind of edible. So you don't have to have all of this fried stuff. And a lot of other Muslim nations don't. Like a lot of Arabs will have soup to start, and their diets are a lot healthier. So yes, back to Pakistan, yeah, we need to kind of cut down on all the fried stuff. But yeah, but even
the air fry food as well. So your samosas, your pakoras, there are alternative food preparation techniques that I think we just need to explore and sort of develop ourselves.
Air fryers are fantastic if you can get one. Really good, because you use 1 teaspoon of olive oil and you fry like loads of chips, and you honestly really can't tell the difference. They are really good. But yeah, so many different ways of of cooking food as well, to saute it, to boil it, to steam it, to, so many different ways we can do it and make it a lot healthier, and do the same kind of stuff, but just cut down on a lot of calories and add a lot more vitamins and nutrients to the food.
I think
I was being devil's advocate there. I just wanted to highlight that fact as well, because there are alternative ways, and I'm glad you've highlighted some of those. I think that there does need to be a bit of education around that. But speaking of education as well, we've got. I mean, you mentioned the childhood obesity Trailblazer program. Actually, that's part of what you do with the one in Bradford. Will you be giving out sort of information on these healthy habits? Is there sort of literature that might be available? How are we going to get this message out about some of the things that you've just talked about there?
Yeah, so basically the Childhood Obesity Trailblazer Program is producing a manual, which is like a toolkit. We have got 3 particular components of this toolkit. One of them is healthy diet, and we'd like to hopefully deliver and train volunteers and key people within masjids and madrasas, so that they can then disseminate and share that information within the madrasa or within the masjid. So whether that's health messages within the congregation at particular prayer times, whether that's within classes that are arranged, the classes for women, or anything, even through the podcast. We want to be able to get as many health messages out, and we hope that there's aspects of those sessions that can be adopted and shared and taught within the madrasa, because we want it to be part of the learning. And I think one of the things that's really important is, for us as a community, we have got amazing talent. And I know that there are so many people in the community that have such a passion when it comes to healthy food and general well-being. We just need to ensure that we're able to share that knowledge and create those opportunities where, inshallah, we could pass this on to children and families, so that the next generation is much more healthier. Because if we don't address this, unfortunately, there's gonna be lots of health problems, like you already highlighted, Akif. Within the South Asian community, there are certain health conditions that are inherited, and that could be through life choices. And we want to be able to allow families, and particularly children, to make more better educated, informed choices as they grow up. And whatever you are taught when you're much younger, you do make reference to that. You do then adopt that and put that into your sort of way of life. And that's why we wanted to do this podcast before Ramadan, is so when people start buying their food and stocking up and preparing for Ramadan, they can start looking at some of those healthy cuisine and healthy recipes that are out there. And you could just start off with trying one thing, and and if you could consistently continue with that in Ramadan, at least you've made that sort of head start. And whether that's, so for example, you say, let's replace fizzy drinks with water or fruit drinks, at least that's something. And it's those small little changes, inshallah, that we want to start getting people to think about.
Yeah, another good thing is that with doing it in madrasas as well, is that we can use there's so many hadith that about eating well, and we can get the kids to really sort of think about, do it from an Islamic perspective as well, rather than just a healthy eating perspective. So even if you think about the hadith about that says that no man fills a container worse than his stomach. Now, just that one in particular is just such a powerful hadith that and we know now today that how many eating too much and obesity, how many diseases and heart diseases and increased risks of cancer and all kinds of stuff that happen just from overeating. So if we can get the kids to kind of think of it, and coming from an Islamic perspective as well, I think we all know the 1/3 hadith of you fill your stomach 1/3 water, 1/3 air, and 1/3 food. It just makes so much sense when you look now. It's been proven scientifically that eating smaller amounts of food, having plenty of water, not filling your stomach, just things like that. There are some things that are proven scientifically now as well. But we don't need to do the science, but you can just tell the children about the hadith and get them thinking about that as they're growing up, and how important it is, how important these hadith are.
I think it's also being really present as well. It's being really mindful. And I think that's something that, many times we go into autopilot. You just automatically do certain things, but just to be really mindful of setting yourself a target and working towards that. So if in a family, if people set themselves I think it's a good competition as well. Like you set yourself targets of saying, well, I'm gonna, work towards this. And, as a family, we should be encouraging that and supporting ourselves. And sometimes it's important to talk about the reality of, what you want to achieve. And there is this, there is a worrying side of stuff, like you could get into bad habits, but I think you could really make it positive and proactive as a family. And I think it's good when like even if there's a reward system at the end of it, you get children to say, well, and children love this, whether it's stickers or in some sort of incentive. I think it's a really good motivator.
I think you've made some important points there, and a nice technique to get young ones involved with it. But the other thing as well, with regard to talking to the Sunnah, I think the big drive, and recently, in the news, and there's been a big drive nationally to consume more veg, and a lot of people are experimenting with veganism and not becoming vegetarian, but having and looking at exploring vegetarian options. The Prophet himself had himself had a plant-based diet mainly. I think meat was more the exception than the norm. I mean, is that another way that we could possibly look at and sort of tailor into this program?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, you go for it.
Oh, right. So, I was just going to say, yeah, definitely. Eating more veg, like I was saying before as well, is we should definitely include it. But yeah, cutting down on meat. I think we just tend to eat so much meat and chicken, especially Pakistanis. We just a lot of people just you just have to have it with every meal. But yeah, that's why we need to go back to the Sunnah. We just have to look at what the Prophet ﷺ did, how much he ate of these things, when he ate it. And because for instance, he ate fruit before a meal. Now, if you just think about having fruit before your meal, by the time you have your meal, you're going to be full a little bit, so you're going to eat a little bit less, and then all those nutrients are digested before you before you have your full meal. And just so many benefits from some of the different sunnah. So eating less meat, and more maybe once a week, but and one thing as well, we found that especially with the children here in Bradford, it's really difficult because they just find it's so easy to get chicken chips for $1.99, and it's just they're eating this rubbish. It's like no salad, nothing with it, no goodness. The quality of the meat is, God knows what it is, but and thinking like when the Prophet said to eat things that are tayyib and pure and Allah only accepts those, things that if a chicken's been, if it's costing you $1.99 for chicken and chips, what quality is that chicken? And a lot of the, like when it's been under never seen the sunlight, all its life, it's been fed, so it gets really fat. Its ankles are broken. Usually, when you buy chicken from Asian shops, a lot of times the ankles are broken, and it's because they feed it so quickly, so it grows quicker. It's so fat and heavy, it just sits there, and for the rest of its life, and its ankles break. It can't move. Is that halal?
I think we might put some takeaways out of. We might call some takeaways to close down at this rate.
No, but thinking about that, really, is that really halal? Part of being halal is bringing up that animal, making sure that it's fed and it lives a good life. And when they're stuck in barns all their life, and it's really, so we really have to, as Muslims, we have to really think about where our foods. We have to be ethical. And even in, we need to. One of the projects on the Trailblazer is shopping and labels, and part of that is actually looking at where things, reading the labels on foods. Where do they come from? Really another important thing is, making sure that things are halal, making sure that things are ethical as well. Are we buying from countries that, support, like last week when you had Sister Abida on, and she mentioned about boycotting Palestine. Are we buying Palestinian goods? Israeli stuff. We're buying things that are being grown on occupied land, on stolen land. We have to be really, think about things like that as well. Being ethical shoppers is all part of Islam. You know, not only things are halal, but are they ethical as well?
Wow, that was alhamdulillah, that was very deep, and I think we covered quite a few topics there. But
Sorry,
it's
tried not to be.
no, it's whenever we get people on the podcast, one of the things that really shines is people's passion for a topic, and it's hard to contain it. And it's amazing when people like really show their passion, because the person's true, right? It's not just coming, the person's true, because they're not just coming on and parroting something that they've been told to do at work. So alhamdulillah, that was awesome. Thank you for that. One of the things that I wanted to ask was, you're in the Asian diet that we eat. What's, if there was one thing that it was your advice to say, listen, you need to take this thing out of your diet, what would that be for you? Would you say, like, if you do nothing else this Ramadan, this one thing, get rid of this from your diet, and in 30 days you'll be a healthier family, what would that thing be?
So I think before I need to make a disclaimer, neither of us are nutritionalists or have that professional expertise. So this is very much about from my personal opinion and from my sort of understanding and research that I've done on the reading. So if I could say one thing, and Nabeela, if you want to mention, I would say sugar. I think sugar is such, when we really think about how much sugar we have, and in all the different foods that we eat, just that one thing will play a massive part. I would say take that thing out. And if I could say keep one thing in or increase it, it'd be water. 70% of our bodies are made out of water. And if we replace all the fizzy drinks and the caffeine and the teas and the coffees with water, you would see a massive difference in your overall well-being. That's from your sleep routine to your moods, to your skin condition. It will have such an amazing, your body will be at its optimum, because water is what we are made of, and we need quite a lot. So that's what I would say.
Sister Abida, I think that's sorry, Nabeela, I'll let you come in a second, but I think that's a brilliant point, because those who unfortunately have gone through life and now are suffering from diabetes now use things like sugar substitutes. So it's one of those where, from a personal point of view, it might be you start using those sugar substitutes earlier. What sort of things could we replace the sugar with? I know Sister Nabeela earlier mentioned honey, but practically from, in a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, what alternatives are there? Do you know any?
Alternatives to sugar, you can have things like stevia, or there are other sweet-X kind of things. You can get it as powder, or you can get tablets. You can use those, but really, I think we should really look at the Sunnah and look at things like honey. These man-made kind of tablets and sweet-X and all these kind of things. I think it is off the top of my head. I think it's stevia that is the fruit, that sugar that is a powder that comes from fruit sugars, but there's no goodness in it. It will give you the sweetness, but it's not good for you. So if you can try and use things like honey, agar syrup, I can't think now at the top of my head, but there's a lot of different things you can use to sweeten. But the things that are used in the Sunnah will just give you so many more nutritional benefits. Honey has so many benefits. We can't. There's a list of things that it's good for. So try and use things like that. I know that the question was about stopping something, but I think what Abida mentioned is perfect. You need to cut down sugar and have more water, but also you don't have to cut the sweetness. Like, you can use other things to sweeten, and also things like oil. I wouldn't actually say cut anything out in particular, but just change it. Just change your oil for olive oil. We know that it's a sunnah. If you have that intention as well, that you're doing this, for the sake of Allah, and you're doing it to get rewarded, inshallah, every time you use that olive oil, you're doing it because it's a sunnah, you'll get rewarded for it as well. So, so many different benefits, not just good for your body, but, good for your hereafter as well.
If I could add one point to that, I would also say that don't do anything that's going to be a shock to the system. I think you need to start off small. So if you know that you love your chocolate or your food of a particular kind, just reduce the amount and just slowly look at the portion size and just ask yourself, well, instead of 4 chocolate biscuits, I'll just have 3. And by next week, I'll go down to 2. And then in about a month's time, I'll just have 1. And so that isn't a shock to the system. And the fact that we are focusing on children is they're a blank canvas. We want to be able to part this knowledge and information to them at a much younger age, so that they can develop those habits that are going to be good, inshallah, and long term they can make really good choices about their lifestyle. But you'll know that as you get older, it's so much more difficult, because by now you've got into quite habits that are very addictive. Like, if you say to someone, don't have a coffee, they'll be like, I can't live without coffee. And, the body goes into shock, doesn't it? So there's so much things. And I think that that's really why, part of the Trailblazer program, we want to be able to work, and every parent wants that best for their child. And I think as a community, we have that social obligation as well, and an opportunity to, inshallah, raise these children and impart knowledge and information that's going to allow them to have the best outcome and best life chances. Because I think that's really important. And a lot of the times, it's starting with something. And I think food and health, having a healthy diet, will, inshallah, give you more of a healthy outlook in life as well. It's going to open up so much more doors.
Yeah, I hope Malana Sadi was listening to that. Only 3 chocolate biscuits for him next week. We'll start with that. Sorry about that. Sister Abida, when will this Trailblazer program be available, and when's it going to be rolled out to madrasas? I know you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and you're talking to a lot of madaris at the minute.
So, mashallah, the Trailblazer program has been, as a program, has been working in the community for over probably 18 months to 2 years. We're working with local neighborhood level place-based groups, and these place-based groups are set up within masjids and madrasas to look at what their priority needs are, and we will be working with them to implement the toolkit, so different aspects of the toolkit. So, for example, like Nabeela mentioned, part of the healthy diet component, we have specific sessions that we have packaged and tailored together. We've co-produced and co-designed these with those place-based groups. So these are local parents, they're local teachers, it's the local imam, people that have that sort of expertise as well. Because if it's going to be delivered within masjids and madrasas, we want to hear from them as well to say, look, this is deliverable. We can actually roll this out within our madrasa. And we hope to deliver and train local teachers and volunteers within the place-based groups to then deliver these. So within the healthy diet, we've got things like portion size, for example, the importance of eating stuff at the right portion. We've got another session focuses on drinking water and the benefits of water. And, as Muslims, Zamzam water is so precious to us and it has such significance. We need to really educate and teach our children the value of it, and I think the madrasa is an ideal place to be able to do that. And there's many lessons, Nabeela, if you want to mention them.
I was just going to say about, one of them is the etiquettes of eating. So many Islamic etiquettes. So just things like sitting on the floor and eating, and especially like with Ramadan coming up, and saying that, it takes 4 weeks to get into a habit. If we can get our kids and our families to sit together and eat, one thing, there's so many benefits from just all of you sitting together and eating. And usually in day-to-day life, we can't, with busy families and so we can't do it all the time where we all eat together. But Ramadan is a perfect time because obviously we're all eating at the same time. So just sitting together and eating, and there's such a blessing in that you can talk to each other and build those bonds with your family and your children and husband and wife, and it's just a really good time to do that. And also just like the scientific benefits of when you're sitting on the floor and sitting on the floor and eating with your hands, eating with 3 fingers. Just all these Sunnah practices are really good for us. And, it's proven that, when you sit on the floor and eat, that just the moving back and forwards of picking your food from your plate, it stimulates your stomach muscles to start creating more acid. And so it helps your digestion. Eating with your fingers, subhanAllah, there's flora, bacteria on your fingers that when you swallow it aids digestion. So things like that are just there's so much benefit in these little things that that we can sort of teach the children. And if we can get into little habits, now we're also used to sitting on dining tables and eating, and we think that's really, that's the healthiest way and the best way. But, just try it during Ramadan. That's what I just say to people, that just try sitting on the floor, eating your food on the floor, eating with your fingers, sharing food, teaching the children to put water in for everybody. How many blessings you're going to get from that? How many blessings the children will get from serving the parents, and just thinking about all this, that not just good for your body, but good for your, your mind, the overall health and well-being. It's like doing all these little sunnah practices, sharing a plate of food, eating your plate off of one food, like the Prophet, peace upon him, did, and just sharing one food. It's quite an intimate thing, but it brings you so much closer to the person you're eating with, or the people you're eating with. So all just like these little practices can be, make a really big difference.
Well, thank you for that, Sister Nabeela. And it's encouraging to see that you're interacting with madrasas. I mean, having been there many, many years ago, and I think all of us may have been to the old-style madrasas where back in the day we had one teacher walking around and it was just reading the Quran and reciting that. And I remember ours had a big stick, so you didn't ever mess about with him. And the fact that the lessons have changed and the way the teaching has changed has gone with modern times, it is so refreshing to hear as well. And I'm really happy that the fact that you're liaising with these madrasas to be able to deliver these. But again, I'm putting my devil's advocate hat on here again. We've got companies like Just Eat and Deliveroo, and we've had the lockdown, and almost everyone's put on weight after lockdown. And it's so easy just to tap something on an app. I mean, it's something I've discovered over lockdown. Just don't move out your seat, click a couple of things, and suddenly you've got food at your doorstep. How I know we've covered some of it, but how are we gonna? Is it a battle we can win? Is the sort of thing I'm asking, because we've already got a massive problem with obesity. We know that. Can we win this battle with all the latest tech and all these companies that are just so easy to deliver unhealthy food straight to your doorstep?
I think we have to. That's why it's such a good project that we're working with the children, because it's really important that we make it fun as well with the kids and get the children into the kitchen. Especially even during Ramadan, like on a weekend, we could get the kids cooking, and this is a life skill that children need to learn, and it's not just the health benefits, but actually being in the kitchen and learning about healthy eating and getting them used to different foods, making healthy meals, and getting the children involved and saying, let's make a pizza, but how can we make it healthier? Let's use whole wheat, let's use loads of vegetables, tomatoes, even a part of some part of the Trailblazer is getting the kids to actually grow their own tomatoes, grow their own little strawberries, looking at where foods come from. How did that get on our plate? And it's a really big job actually for the parents to really talk to the kids and speak to them about Islamically as well. How did that food get onto your plate? Subhanallah, that pineapple has come from the other side of the world. It's followed a journey from on a ship, on a road, on a trailer, on a train. It's come to your supermarket. And that was meant to be on your plate, and it's come from the other side. You're just making children think about where their food comes from, how it's grown, GM things like that. Just talking to the foods and talking to the children, get them involved in recipes and looking at how things are cooked and how things are made, and then they themselves can start saying, "Oh, mummy, we can make this healthier by why don't we take this out, or why don't we add this?" And the kids come up with so many different ideas that adults don't even think about. So we have to start making it fun. So if they want to go for a Deliveroo or something, just say to them like, "Come on, let's get a recipe, let's cook it ourselves, and let's just reduce the fat. Let's just try grilling a burger rather than deep frying it, and making your own bread, and you can make it so much fun and so much healthier. But obviously the parents have got to put a little bit of work into it."
Yeah, if I could add to that, Nabeela, I mean, responding to your question, Akif, I think the truth of the matter is as a community, we need to make this collective effort for us to succeed. And I think my request to people who have got fast food places is, please look at your menus and be willing to change and adopt something, and balance your profit with that social responsibility of, what are we feeding our community? Because, we need to look after our customers' wellness, as well. And you'll notice many food outlets have done that, from your famous ones, from your big chains. They are making those small changes to their menus. And I'd like to encourage people within Bradford who've got fast food places to maybe do the same as well. Put those options on the menus, because we need to all be involved in this. This is a collective, whole system approach. It can't be achieved where just the efforts coming from just the masjids and madrasas. Everybody has to do their bit, and I think if we all collectively chip in, we can definitely do that. And this is why this program has come around. Nationally, we know that it's a concern, and we've now started to get these health messages out there. We are now looking at interventions, looking at how we could develop a local neighborhood level interventions, health interventions. And we want to empower and mobilize and galvanize as many organizations and individuals to continue with this, because like anything, when funding runs out or things, programs have an end life, don't they? We would want local people to start then looking at initiatives and setting up projects that will continue this. And when you think about what it could achieve, as Bradford as a city, we're one of the youngest cities in Europe, so our population and young population is very high. So this is going to be your future labour workforce. This is going to be the future, and all that. They are our future. So we need to be able to do whatever we can to give them whatever life skills or options and choices to be able to then grow up to be sort of strong, resilient, healthy individuals.
MashaAllah. I want to ask a question around parents' involvement. So, as some people know, I run the small martial arts academy, and one of the things that parents always come to me and ask is, how do I get my child involved? And one of the questions back to them is, well, what are you doing? Because children often look up to their parents, and you'll often see if the parents do a sport, the children will follow and they'll be doing that sport. And if the parents have a certain hobby, the children are usually involved in that hobby as well as they get older, because it's a household interest. So when it comes to food and diet, how can parents get involved, and how can you get some of this information that you're talking about?
Nabeela?
Yeah, this is what we're doing with this project, as well as involving the parents, because obviously we can teach the children about healthy eating and diet and all this, but nothing's going to happen if the parents aren't on board as well. So part of this is working with the parents, whether it's the mum or the dad, whoever's cooking. But we have found as well that a lot of children, a lot of women now don't cook as well. So a lot of the mums aren't cooking. This is why children, and they're tending to buy, go to delivery, and they're tending to buy a lot of fast food, because people are not, a lot of the women are not cooking themselves at home. So we've really got it. That's all part of, we've got it, and start encouraging and get back. And this is actually a really good trait in Muslims, that we do tend to have the women tend to cook and the mums do cook home meals, but we're kind of losing that now, I think, living here. And but going to the delivery and stuff is fine if you're ordering some healthy stuff, but how much of it is healthy? It's not really, and if you can do that at home. So part of this project is to get the mums or dads working with the children and teaching the children to, get in the kitchen, like I was saying, and cook and look at, and it's, all, there's so many skills from just cooking in the kitchen, all the motor skills. They have to, they have to concentrate. They have to read recipes. They're doing measurements. They're learning weighing how using weighing scale, things like that. So many other benefits in just getting your kids in the kitchen to cook. So if they are when they're looking for takeaways, now everything is available on YouTube or online, and you can get a recipe for a McDonald's. You can make it exactly the same. So, and you can do it healthier. So, really important that we get parents involved as well. And it's because I think parents have stopped kind of cooking, that the children are not doing it either. Like you say, we copy what our parents do.
Yeah, I think also what's really important is the relationship with food. we want children to develop a positive, healthy relationship with food as well. And one of the things we're hoping to do, part of our manual toolkit, is deliver workshops within the settings, so particularly a safe space where people feel like they trust and they visit quite often. So hence why we're working with masjids and madrasas. But we would like to deliver sessions to parents of children who attend madrasas. We want to open that up to not just mums and dads, but also people living in extended families. So we'd want to invite people. So whoever's responsible of doing the shopping, we'd want them to be mindful of the kind of foods they purchase. We want that relationship where children could go and explore the supermarket and actually put food that on their plate that is probably a new food. As a family, we want them to taste new foods, new fruits, create new cuisines, and then that's how we're going to change that mindset, because the Trailblazer program is based on the fundamental principle of behavior change. So that kind of behavior change will come gradually and slowly. So, until you don't actually make the intention to be part of or want to change that, we want to encourage and motivate people. And I think everyone sometimes just looks at a bit of support. And so we'd like to create that opportunity within masjids and madrasas for parents to come and learn about, learn information, so educate them, raise the awareness about what we're trying to achieve, but also have the opportunity to actually get involved with actually delivering one of the workshops where the parents and the children could do some of the cooking. If it's, if the resource allows you. So most masjids, madrasas do have like a kitchen space. If not, we could look at a local community centre or maybe some space where we could book where families can come and sort of learn these new recipes that we want them to obviously start cooking in their homes.
I gotta tell you that just before you go, Akif, the kitchen in the new masjid that they were building, a new masjid, Masjid Umar, and inshallah in the next couple of days we'll put some pictures up of the new kitchen and some of the new facilities we've got in that new masjid. That new kitchen is huge. Sorry, Akif, go on.
No, I was just going to say, it's interesting. Sister Abida, you talked about foods. I mean, yes, we criticize the Pakistani diet, but the food from the subcontinent is actually, some of the best tasting food that we will get, and there are a lot of healthy alternatives. I mean, if we look to, for example, Southeast Asia or Southeast India, even, and you've got, because especially in India, the vast majority of the diet there is vegetarian based, and you've got things like dosas that people may not have come across. There's the hummus and all the falafels that come across from the sort of the Arabic tradition. So there's different recipes out there, which is interesting, and I'm glad to say that you've got these plans hopefully to deliver some of these sessions, especially. And I was going to say the same thing, Barbara, that we're in our new masjid. When we do finally get in there, and hopefully we're not too far away, the kitchen is huge, and we'll be able to hopefully host some of these sessions.
I hope you're going to invite us to that.
Well,
opening of your kitchen.
Inshallah, when it opens, everyone's invited to come in by all means. Just a quick thing then. So, how long before some of those sessions you talked about, Abida, will actually be in place? Are we talking about this year? Are we talking about early next year? Obviously, we're hoping the pandemic will be over by. Well, we've got that June the 21st arbitrary date, but as we go through, hopefully later on this year. So, are we looking at later this year, early next year, for when we can do some of these sessions?
No, sooner than that. Inshallah, in the next 3 months, we are looking at training and delivering these sessions within the community. So, part of my role as a community engagement manager for the Trailblazer, I'm working with 10 place-based group, and as you know, Masjid Umar is one of the masjids I'm working with, and the madrasa, the Paradise Academy. We will be training local people that are involved with these sessions, and then as soon as obviously the restrictions are eased and we're more as normal, running and doing things as normal, where the people will be able to go back into sort of masjids and madrasas, we will be happy to start delivering, inshallah, over the next 3 months. So there'll be a lot more happening in the next 3 months.
So I know today we're talking very much about we're talking very much about diet, and we're talking about food. But is that alone going to be enough to tackle obesity? Are there other aspects to lifestyle that we need to look at?
Absolutely. So one of the other things I wanted to mention is the toolkit has 3 components. One of them is a healthy diet, which we've spoken about quite a bit. The other one is actual physical activity. So Barbara, it was really good to hear that you're saying you run a small martial arts group. We want people to understand that the choice that you have with the food that you eat, equally, you have to keep yourself physically fit as well. So you also mentioned about where parents do a sport or an activity, then children will tend to follow. And that's something we want to encourage. Now, that kind of activity could be as simple as, starting something like walking as a family, or walking daily. And, obviously, like the government guidelines saying that if you get 10,000 steps in a day. Now, just the fact that it's not just 10,000 steps, it's also brisk walking. That is what you want. You need that 20 minutes of brisk walking where the heart rate increases. That's what we need. And we want to get families to do a bit of both. We want them to understand the importance of changing and making good, healthy diet and changes their lifestyle, but also adopting and looking after their physical fitness. And as you get older, you have to be mindful that, your body's going the other way. So you need to do more. And you want to be able to, get into old age in a graceful way. But so we have to still do that. And if families could do activities together, that's amazing. And another component of the toolkit is organizational change. We want to be able to allow and support masjids and madrasas to set up entities within their organization that will allow them to mobilize and set up health interventions. So whatever that may be. But what's really important is, a lot of our ideas are pretty forgotten. So within the Sunnah, there's so many things that the Prophet peace be upon him used to do. So to give you an example, they used to walk to the masjid, and Friday going to prayer, to see people walking to the masjid and making a regular habit of that would be amazing. And another thing that we want is organizationally, we want there to be some sort of strategies and change that masjids and madrasas are willing to adopt. So to give you an example, when I was working with one of the place-based groups, they spoke about marching Wednesdays as like a walking strategy, or looking at, in fact, sorry, I think they said walking Wednesday and marching Monday. So there are certain things that we want to look at communities and masjids and madrasas to adopt. And with these sort of changes, if it comes on an infrastructural level, you're more likely to sort of see that change, because people look up to their imam, people look up to their teachers, and if the teachers advise you something, you'll see children follow, and you'll see parents doing that as well.
Thank you for that, Sister Abida. Those of you watching, if you do want to ask a question, by all means, pop that in the comments section. I know some of you have been making some comments. Brother Mazza, thank you so much for that lovely comment you put in there about me looking fit and healthy. Yes, it was a fair few steps I did yesterday. Just going back to the thing you talked about, organisational change. I mean, I know our Girlington, we're working through and we're trying to add some of these things in. So, I mean, we have talked about a women's walking group. We have got, or we did do pre-lockdown, a little football and multi-sports activity. So I think you're spot on there in terms of trying to get the organisations to build this, because things have changed a lot since. I mean, we're a little bit older now, but I mean, we're gone are the 5 TV channels, and now we've got multiple TV channels. We've got PlayStations, and it's a lot more difficult to get the kids out. And not only the kids, I think the adults need that that sort of outlet as well. So some of that comes through themselves and their own drive, but other will come through local clubs and local organisations, which hopefully, if you keep a lookout, we are working towards getting that done. What sort of ideas have you seen? I mean, you mentioned walking Wednesdays and marching Mondays. Are there any other sort of faith groups, place-based groups that you've seen where, you've seen some good, simple ideas that people can sort of easily get engaged with, those people that might not be sort of the ones who are involved in a sport, so to say?
I think one of the things that we're trying to do is we want it to be very local to that community, to say, well, as a community or as a group, what are our needs? What would we like to do? And, we want people to come together and think of these initiatives. So to give you an example, I'm working with a masjid in Kitri, and for Ramadan, they're doing healthy packs for the congregation. In that, they're going to put some healthy recipes to get families to look at them. They're going to create TikTok videos so that people can share their videos. They're going to upload these on Facebook. So it's about creating that sort of energy and that buzz to say we're all collectively doing it. And I think, people will get involved in stuff. So different people are looking at different things. And I think it's important also to look at the skill set and expertise from each sort of place-based group. And it's whatever they would want to do on a local level. And I think one of the things we are really clear about, the way I sort of work is, it is very much about having full ownership of what you are producing. It's coming down and helping communities and individuals to have that training, because we want to have a long-term legacy and long-term sustainability. We don't want to be able to just come in and when there's funding for something to work, and when the funding's gone, it stops. We want to leave people with those skill sets. So whether that's parents, whether that's children, whether that's organizations and setting up groups, we want them to have that ownership to be able to say, well, look, this is something that we need to continue with, because it is about the health of our children, and it's our community that we want to make these improvements for. So it is very much about finding local leaders, developing new leaders, developing new talent, new skill set, and then being able to signpost people to look at what kind of funding opportunities are out there, and sort of running with these ideas. And I think the best ideas do come from local people. I think I'm definitely pleasantly surprised when I've got people to come on board, and that sort of energy that they've created has been absolutely amazing.
Can I just say as well, there is quite a bit of funding out there now as well for, I think, due to COVID, or I'm not sure, but there's because people are not getting out a lot. There's a lot of funding for sports stuff, and even if some of the madrasas wanted to do it, you can go to so just before COVID, I was teaching fencing. So the British fencing have quite a good women's working with a group called Maslaha, who teach fencing to women. So a lot of sports where women can stay covered, and there's a lot of stuff like that. So there's a lot of funding for things like that out from madrasas. If you kind of search it, there's quite a bit of stuff out there available for, especially for women, to get women and girls into sport as well. Which is really good if the masjids could do it. If we could go through the masjids and do it as well.
No, that's a good point. And one of the remits I've got is for our masjid is to get mothers, women, girls active, because if we see the health of some of our elders, because they haven't had that lifestyle and they haven't had that early on. And you are right when you talk about having to target kids when they're younger. If they don't make the change then and get in the habits, then they're not going to get into it later on. So we have at our masjid run girls sessions. Again, that was interrupted by lockdown, and we are planning other little things that hopefully will come online as soon as restrictions ease.
Just to give you an idea, sorry, Akif, to cut you short, but just to give you an idea, the kind of physical activities that we're looking at it could be as simple as a walking bus to madrasa.
Yes.
To get children to understand and appreciate the local area, and make that a part of a natural daily routine, as well as families. So, we want there to be less motor vehicles driving on the road at those peak times. We want families to drop their children off to madrasa and pick them up. And the other kind of physical activities we're looking at is, your Sunnah sports as well, your archery, your swimming, your fencing, your horse riding, as well as the popular sports of today, like your football, your cricket, and also allowing children to have the opportunity to do sports that they probably, wouldn't normally pursue, whether that's canoeing, kayaking, and things like that. So we've got like a list of 40 acceptable behaviors and physical activities that People, Islamic scholars have said these are acceptable in Islam, and we'd like that's in the toolkit. So inshallah, we'd want masjids and madrasas to look at these and start looking at planning these. There's so many facilities in Bradford that inshallah we can definitely access and deliver from.
MashaAllah. Akif, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, inshallah, like you said, Sister Abida, there are a few of those, and we have started the process. So, inshallah, we will continue with that. And I was just going to say what sort of things are in this toolkit, what alternative sports are there, and you've mentioned them. And I've seen bits of the toolkit, so it's interesting concepts like a game called Speedball, which I saw, which, it's a nice, simple thing to do, and hopefully at some point the madrasa students will get to engage with that. So we're coming to the end of our time now. If there were a couple of things that we could sum up, what sort of takeaway message could we give to our viewers and parents and sort of children to take away, and sort of what minor changes would you want to see? And Brother Imran's just put up there, sorry, table tennis. Brother Imran's a big table tennis fan. Just what sort of changes would you like to see people implement within Ramadan? Nabeela, if you could kick us off and just sort of sum up when we come to the end here.
I think just quickly, I think I would just love people to just go back to the Sunnah. Go back to the Sunnah, look at the Sunnah foods, look at the Sunnah, the ways of eating, when we eat, look at what the Prophet used to, how we used to eat them. Just, even if we just do that, just like little small changes, like let's just sit on the floor and eat, and just see what a difference it makes to your family, and not on a dining table. Just do those little bits. Just, we all break our fast with a date, inshallah, but we, just other little things that the Prophet used to do, and let's just try and implement those. And then you just see after a month, it just becomes a habit. It's like after Ramadan, we don't want to eat in the day, do we? Because it's become a habit, and then you just think, oh, I can't eat. But little things like that, if we can just do that, that would be really, really good. I think it would really make a difference to people's health as well.
Yeah, I think if I could add to that is the fasting. I mean, mashallah, there's fasting in Ramadan, but we should continue with fasting, whether that's on a Monday and Thursday, according to the Sunnah as well. And I think that's really important. I think, again, science is proving intermittent fasting and the benefits of it. And I think that's something, inshallah, we should continue. And it's so good for your well-being, fasting, especially for young people. And I think it's really important to sort of really going back to basics. The benefits of even praying. There's the physical benefits as well. So as you're performing all the different positions of prayer, there are benefits of that. So maybe that's another thing, inshallah, you'd like to sort of tell people, remind them to say that if you've not managed to do your achieve consistent 5 prayers, maybe in Ramadan is your time to, inshallah, continue with that, because it's such a big spiritual boost, isn't it? It's just so nice to be able to pray with your family or go to the masjid. And so I would want to, inshallah, see people continuing with those things.
MashaAllah. A comment from Brother Imran again, and he's talking about when he goes to the park and he sees a steady stream of elders going out to the park, and it would be great for us to support this, and 100% we support this. And I think throughout lockdown, especially early in lockdown, we started seeing a lot of people going out and doing a lot more activities. I believe it started to die down a little bit. That's just a personal observation going out. And it'd be awesome if we could get people to make that more regular, because it is something that we need. More people out there exercising. Yeah, awesome. So just to finish off, I want to say a huge thank you to our guests, Sister Nabeela and Sister Abida, coming on, spending your time Sunday afternoon, huge precious time with your family. So thank you so much for coming on, spending your time with us, sharing your knowledge, and giving us that boost. So inshallah in Ramadan we can make these changes. So I like to extend that thank you. We've mentioned a couple of times during this podcast, Masjid Umar building the new masjid. Inshallah, we're looking to update the website and put some stuff on social media. I'm just in the process of doing that stuff now. So we made some huge progress on that lower floor, which is going to be, inshallah, for the women's section. The Jamaat Khana there is ready, the kitchen's there ready, some of the hallway stuff and some of the classrooms are getting sorted out. We put some of the tanking in outside for some of the eco-friendly stuff we're doing, and we were talking earlier about being socially responsible. The masjid's gone really far about how to make the masjid sustainable. So they've got solar panels up on the roof, and we're going to be reusing some of the rainwater for some of the water inside the masjid. So I think the people who are planning it have been really thinking hard and long about how to keep it sustainable and sticking to them true principles of Islam. You know, they didn't need to do any of that. It cost more to do that, but alhamdulillah, they've gone out of the way to think about that. So the masjid are looking for donations, as any huge project like this is. So across the bottom is a sort code and account number if you want to do a straight transfer. There's a GoFundMe page if you want to search for Masjid Umar-New Build, just like it is down there. Or if you want to do cash the good old-fashioned way, Brothers of Fakar is doing that. So just give him a call on the number down there, hit pause, and you can get that number, and he'll sort that out with you. Obviously, we're still in COVID, so there's COVID-friendly measures that he knows about, and he will sort that out. If you like what we're doing with this YouTube channel, hit like, hit subscribe, share the stuff, because we're not looking to make money out of this. What we're doing is keep engaging with the community during these hard times. So if there's a topic you like and you think someone in your family or someone in your friends is going to relate to them, please share it with them, just so that we can get that benefit far and wide to as many people as possible. And inshallah, it'll help you in your next life, and inshallah, it'll help us and the masjid go forward. Next week's podcast, subhanallah, next week's podcast is going to be about the virtues of Ramadan. We're getting closer and closer and closer, and we're building up to that Ramadan, and everyone's looking forward to it around April, towards the start of April. So next week, Maulana Sajid himself is going to be speaking about the virtues of Ramadan and how we can, inshallah, benefit and maximize when we look forward to it, like 30 days ago, and when we're in Ramadan, it goes so fast. So how we can maximize what is such a small time and get as much out of it as possible. So inshallah, next week, 7 o'clock, join us and we'll try getting that to you. Jazakallah for everyone for listening. Thank you again for everyone taking your time out. And inshallah, we'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.